Welcome to the Unwatched pile, where we watch movies and we talk about them, and then we do double features. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know why I did that. Welcome to the Unwatched pile, the show where we dust off our unwatched movies in our collections and then watch one and then pair it with another movie in our collections that looks nice as a double feature. So I'm Stephen Billings, and of course with me is Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. I was going to say, that's my favorite, I think, intro music of all the shows we do here on Chasing Labels.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It gives me that 90s video game feel.
It's kind of like a video store video game. Like, yeah,
it feels retro, which is kind of nuts thinking the 90s are now retro, but they are. And I don't know. It feels like playing like a Sega Genesis game, Super Nintendo game from back in the day. They always had great video game soundtracks to it.
Yeah.
In a way, video games and movies and TV are all kind of intertwined now more than ever. So it's kind of appropriate. Yeah. But speaking of dusting off, stuff off of our shelves, this is going to be an interesting episode for me because it's going to be a movie that I've been wanting to watch for 20 years as of this year. So it is truly an unwatched pile pick to end all unwatched pile picks.
Yeah, man. I when you told me you hadn't seen the movie you picked tonight, I was like, man, like that. I remember seeing that one. And this was a time in my film watching that I wasn't even really like into these type of movies. I think the only reason I saw it was because Brad Pitt was in it. I was like, oh, I love Brad Pitt. And I saw the movie and I was like, man, this is heavy.
Ironically, this was actually around the time this movie came out. It was around the time where I started to kind of slowly get into movies like this. Like it was kind of one of those years for me where at the time I was 19 years old when this came out. So you're at that weird transition age between like teenage years and early adulthood where like you think you're mature, but you're not mature, and you're trying to be mature, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know if we want me to get into it right away, since we're kind of slowly getting into it.
Well, I was just going to say before we get into it, we do have a guest that was supposed to be here tonight. I'm not sure if he's going to come or not. Mr. Chris Haskell. He hopefully will show up. We had him scheduled for tonight, but we'll see. Maybe he'll pop in at some point.
Perhaps.
But yeah, I guess we'll start with you, I guess, since our guest isn't here.
Right on. So the movie that I'm talking about is Alejandro González Iñárritu's film Babel. This is the movie that came out in 2006, which is now 20 years ago. And I didn't realize that it had come out until I was, doing more research here for the episode, because for some reason I thought it was like later than that. But no, it was 2006. 2006, which is an interesting year for me personally. Like I said, I was around 19 years old. It was also the year I graduated high school. So it's like 20 years now since I graduated high school. And yeah, I remember seeing like TV spots for this movie, maybe movie trailers at the movie theater that they would play before the movie for this movie. Because I was going to the movies at the time, like I said, late teens, of course I was. And I remember this was one of the first years where I actually started watching like award season shows, like Golden Globes, Academy Awards. I believe this was the year that The Departed won Best Picture. Yeah. So it was like Martin Scorsese got his due as a director. I think it's the only time he's ever won Best Director and all that kind of stuff. So I started paying attention to those types of movies at that time. I think, it was 2006, and then of course 2007 was when I started to pay attention even more. But I remember this movie getting a lot of critical acclaim at the time, and I was like, I know who Brad Pitt is. I know who Cate Blanchett was, because I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings at the time, as I am now. She was in that,
as always.
As always, yeah. As I like that's changed over 20 years. But this movie here, like definitely this type of high art drama award season type of movie. And after watching it, I can concur most definitely. And it also made me kind of, because it's been a few years since I've seen an Alejandro González Iñárritu film. So diving back into his sense of drama and just, darker, more existential, more, tough films to watch. For those of you not familiar with his work, he did Birdman, he did The Revenant, he did 21 Grams, he did Amores Perros. Um, and his movies, specifically those early ones, like in the 2000s, 21 Grams, Amores Perros, this, not exactly positive movies,
Yeah.
as one would say.
I don't think has
I
he
don't
made it.
think
I
he
mean,
made,
I
like, a
guess
movie that's like uplifting and like makes you feel happy at the end. They're
I
all
think Birdman's the closest we get.
yeah, and even Birdman is like has
Kind of,
existential dread in it.
it's
You
kind of
know?
it's definitely a cynical movie.
Yes, cynical is a good term for that.
Yeah,
Pessimistic is another term I would say for his movies,
yeah,
but they're just like they're tough to watch because he really put you through the ringer
yeah.
with the characters and the story. And this movie is of no exception. So for those of you who have never seen it, this movie is kind of four separate stories in four separate scenarios that have a connection with one another. They all kind of intertwine or connect with one another in a specific way. So you'll see some recognizable names in here. Brad Pitt, Kate Blanchett, Gail Garcia Bernal is in this film as well. And basically, the movie takes place kind of globally, actually. It takes place in Morocco, the United States, Japan, Mexico. And the central story, or at least the one that I think people will remember the most, is the Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett story. They are a couple that are on some type of, I don't know if it's a vacation or something like that, in Morocco, and something happens to where the Kate Blanchett character gets shot, and that kind of sets off all kinds of other things going on. There, and I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but let's just say that inciting incident kind of reverberates up into the other scenarios that go on in this movie. You have um, this Moroccan family of these two young boys that play into that. You have, like I said, Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett, and then you have their children in the United States, and then you have a plot line that goes on in Japan that connects with everything as well. And all of these different plots are dealing with different themes, different aspects, different stuff going on. But like I said, they're all connected in some way, and specifically through one object. Actually, they're all connected by a gun. Coincident, something as small as that, and that's kind of at the fulcrum of this movie. How this one item can connect all of these people, but that's mostly like a MacGuffin. Like it's mostly like just
Yeah.
something to connect all these plot
And,
lines, but it's mostly about what's going on with all of these people.
and what's interesting is like in film at the time, it felt like that was kind of like a gimmick in a way. We were getting a lot of movies that was like, oh, there's like this thing that happens, but let's get multiple perspectives of this thing, or like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like it's kind of, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but like that same like kind of idea of like multiple perspectives, and we're using like you said, like a kind of a MacGuffin to kind of like thread the needle of all the
Yeah,
stories.
it's like you just need a plot device
Yeah,
to bind all these together. But like I
yeah,
said, it's mostly about the
like
individual plots. You have
like
Kate
like,
Blanchett.
like yeah, like
Like,
I'm sorry to interrupt
yeah.
you. I'm sorry. Like Vantage Point,
Oh, I was
or
gonna say
like
Vantage Point. Yeah.
Vantage Point was the big one. I'm thinking of what's the one that got nominated for or won Best Picture. Um, didn't that have a similar thing? The one that had Brendan Fraser. It was
Oh
the
my Crash.
Crash. Yeah, that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
Talk about an ensemble movie with about that had connecting characters and connecting
yeah, yeah.
storylines. Yeah, I forgot who directed that movie.
Peter Hines. Is it Peter
No, it
Hines?
wasn't Peter Hyams. Something Haig? Oh, that's gonna bother me. But anywho,
Haggis,
yeah,
some
Paul Haggis.
Paul
That's who
Haggis.
it was.
That's
Yes,
it.
Paul Haggis. Yeah, the much maligned Best Picture
Yes.
winner, Crash.
But yeah, that was kind of a thing. I feel like at the time, it was like that type of storytelling was like kind of in. So
Yeah, they also had that movie Bobby, which is about the
yes,
assassination
yeah,
of Robert Kennedy, and it was told through a bunch of the perspective of the people who were in that, I think it was a hotel ballroom
it was
at
yeah,
the
yeah, the hotel
uh,
where he was shot. Yeah,
yeah. and it had like, you had like the wait staff, you had like people in the crowd, you had all this kind of different perspectives. I mean, it's something that's been done in movies forever. Heck,
Sure.
I mean, Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon is one
I
of the most
mean,
notorious ones.
Slacker,
Yeah, it's like you like things that
Nashville. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
goes
when
on
you
and
have
on.
all
Yeah,
these interlocking things. Yeah, Robert Altman loved to do that with
yeah,
his
yeah.
ensemble casts.
Yeah,
But the movie
Magnolia. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's
oh
yeah,
gee, yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson and Magnolia. Um, but Babel is interesting because it's so widespread globally,
yeah,
and
yeah.
to kind of have these 4 storylines tied into one another and not to lose people's interest in the movie, not to lose people's focus on the movie, to be able to, you know, balance all of these storylines, balance all of these characters, and to be able to go from moment to moment and back to back. It takes really good filmmaking to do so.
Oh,
And Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, I always thought was a really good filmmaker. I mean, afterward, of course, Birdman is the one that got him all the critical acclaim, and then The Revenant finally got Leonardo DiCaprio his Oscar, and he's only done one other feature film since then. It was the movie Bardo. Um, it's yeah, and it was a couple of years ago, and I never actually saw it. I think it came out in
I don't think I
2022.
saw it either. Yeah.
Um, for some reason, I thought like The Revenant was his last movie. And I'm like, no, wait, that was
Yeah,
2015. That
he
was
had something
forever
else.
ago.
Yeah, he had. I knew he had something else sneak in there that nobody paid attention to for some reason.
And I know
Um, he's got the new
yeah,
one coming
he's
out with
got the
Tom
new
Cruise.
Digger with Tom Cruise.
I'm excited about that because it gave off very like 60s like vibes. Like I don't know,
Mm,
it's got like something interesting about it. I don't. I'm excited for it. Something different
right.
from him.
And yeah, so I thought this movie was really really good. Like I can understand why it was so critically acclaimed at the time, and yeah, like I think he won Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival
Mm.
that year as well. Yeah, it's interesting going back in time and watching a movie from let's say 20 years ago with actors because you automatically kind of like, oh man, what have they done since then? It's like Brad Pitt. Obviously he's done so many things since then, but seeing
Yeah.
him in this movie in this type of more serious role is vastly different than what I've seen him in a lot of things lately. And
I guess the close. Oh, I mean, especially lately, but like something like Tree of Life.
Yeah, Tree of
Was
Life, which ironic didn't that come out like
a
5
few
years
years.
after this or
Yeah,
so?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's very interesting kind of that regard. And this movie is dealing with a lot of themes in it. Like there's this not even unspoken, but just the Kate Blanchett and the Brad Pitt character are having marital issues.
mhm.
And this one event kind of sets those things aside and focuses on something much more, in the moment of the potentially your you know your wife dying because she was shot just randomly at some point. And also kind of shows this idea of the randomness of life, where this one event can just randomly change trajectories, not only change trajectories, but also impact other things. Like it's not only you that's affected by this. Like there's a ripple effect, and there's also kind of there's things that happen that um like and affects that moment. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a like we see with car crashes, It's not only the car crash when it happens, it's like what led up to that moment. That
Mm,
person was speeding, maybe they were impaired, maybe they
yeah.
passed out, maybe somebody hit them and then they hit you, they missed a stop sign or whatever the case may be. There's always incidents that occur that lead up to moments that happen in our lives. And sometimes you think about those things and then sometimes you don't. But
Yeah, yeah. I think in this movie specifically, and I think this is I was just it just pops into my head because I was thinking about I've been thinking about wanting to rewatch a lot of Christopher Nolan lately. Is Nolan's all about like perspective,
hmm,
with his movies, like about seeing, and I think this movie is the same way. Like it's very interested in making sure that perspective is key to its storytelling. Like it's about seeing something, but then not knowing the whole story, and then seeing perspective on it later, and like getting perspective through the
and
whole
in a
movie.
way, you're only informed of what's happening to you directly in the moment. You don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
the context of every single event that happens in your life. You don't know. It's like that whole thing where like you shouldn't really judge people based off of the moment because you don't know what's going on in their lives. You know, you don't
Sure.
know what's happening in with them. You know what I mean? And the movie definitely plays on that, but there's a lot of other things going on in here that are themes that I think Inarritu's dabbled in before. Uh, there's a there's a plot line with the person who's taking care of the children of the Kate Blanchett and Brad Pitt characters. She is a Mexican immigrant, so obviously he's dealing with immigration. His movie Bardo, I think, was dealing with that as well, and he's dealt with that in his films before, obviously in his earlier films with the Mexican culture and stuff like that. The one thing that I thought was so kind of far removed was there is a Japanese story in here about this
Mm,
centered around this young teenage girl and her delving through her life in an interesting way. She is somebody who's a deaf mute and she has to communicate with people through sign language
mm,
and stuff like that. But she also has the extra burden of being a teenager and not understanding life and trying to figure those things out on top of having these limitations in terms of communication. So that's I thought that was fascinating in the movie. And while it's far removed from the central plot of the movie, it's yet another way to introduce this idea of human interaction, human plot, human themes, and life in general from a
yeah.
different perspective. And like I said, all of the film is incredibly well balanced. For a movie that's, I think, 2 hours and 20 minutes long, it moves very quickly and moves very well because you're constantly moving from, you know, scenes with characters to other scenes with characters, and so there's no real downtime. There's no real lag in the movie. There's no real slow moments in the film, which I thought was extraordinary for a movie that's 160 minutes long. So yeah, I really 140 minutes long. Sorry, and yeah, it's really really good. I don't know why I waited so long to watch it. Like I
I
said,
you know,
I've wanted to watch it for 20 years, but I think I've had this Blu-ray probably from around the time I think Birdman came out. Because there's
wow.
always like that one movie where
It
like
makes
a
you wanna
director has a big hit, and then you go
yeah,
back and like, what else have they done?
yeah,
And
yeah, you
and
go buy up everything
you
else,
go
yeah.
buy up all their stuff. Like that's probably
I
when I bought 21 grams. Probably when I bought a
yeah,
Morris Perros. Actually, I don't have a Morris Perros
that's a
because it's a
Criterion.
movie I watched and it traumatized me so much that I cannot bring myself to buy it because I
Yeah,
don't think I'm ever going to see it again.
you'll
Um,
buy it, it's a Criterion, you'll
It's a
get
Criterion release, so in part, yes, and also in part, once I have one of a director's filmography, I kinda wanna have them all. It's a
yeah,
little OCD collecting thing that I'm pretty sure many people have, but, so I probably have had this in my collection for a dozen years, now going on 13, so I finally
yeah.
watched it, and it's been sitting there for a while, and I'm pretty sure this is the original release from probably 2007. Um, it's an old Blu-ray. They've never remastered it or they re-released it a couple of times, but I think it's the same disc with the
Yeah.
same movie poster packaging. As you can see, I bought it for $10 used back in the day.
Well,
Still has the original insert, which
yeah.
is amazing to me because now you can buy Mission Impossible 3 on Blu-ray
Ooh,
as well as Nacho Libre and
ooh,
uh Sahara as well as
mm.
um Tomb Raider with Angelina
Cool,
Jolie.
awesome, it
But
reminds you.
this is a much older disc, you can tell because it doesn't even have it doesn't I don't think it has anything really in the way of special features, and
Is
also it
that
doesn't
so is that a Paramount film?
it
I'm
is a
guessing?
Paramount release.
Okay, so I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, maybe it could get like, a Criterion being
Um,
that, but I don't
since
know.
Paramount does license out now, either Criterion or even Kino
Yeah. Kino
seems like it
seems like that might be the place.
that
Yeah,
seems like it might be the play. I don't
yeah.
think well, Amoris Perros is with
That's
Criterion.
that's it, I think,
21
right now.
grams, I think they released a Blu-ray of that,
Yeah.
through Paramount. But let's say this is an older Blu-ray to the point where there's an advertisement in it for like to sell the idea of Blu-rays. It's like, oh, now you can watch your movies in high definition with great sound, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
this is so. They even do that
love
thing
it.
where like they go from standard definition and they do the
Yeah,
wipe,
yeah.
and it's like now it's high definition. It doesn't even have lossless audio, so no DTS HD master audio, no true HD audio. It just got the old 5.1 Dolby digital sound, which was like standard DVD sound at the time. A lot of companies like took a little while for them to make that transition over to
Yeah.
better sound. I know Warner Brothers, if you look at a lot of like The Dark Knight or even Batman Begins, like you have to switch the audio because the audio default on those discs are 5.1 Dolby Digital for some crazy reason. Even
Yeah.
the old V for Vendetta Blu-ray was the same way. But that's just me getting all technical about it. So, yeah, that's the movie Babel, the Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu film. Really good, great acting, great filmmaking. Not the easiest film to watch because it is a bit of a, a it's not going to make you feel good about life. It's like watching a lot of people go through really tough moments, tough, tense, life moments. And I guess that's kind of what his thing is.
I was gonna say, like, other than like Birdman, I mean, I think he spends his career trying to reimagine real life as close to real life as he can without getting it. Because I mean, he works with Emmanuel Lubetsky a lot, who has a very, you could say, documentary style in a way, very handheld, very, very super high defy kind of like, like he likes to use a lot of natural light, like
Yeah,
likes to,
ironically, he's not the one who shot this movie.
well, not that one, but like essentially, I think, I mean, this was after this movie, he would start working with him a lot more. I think at least 3 or 4 movies. But yeah, I think that type of movie, he's really trying to go for like, this is how it is. I mean, here's how a gun can affect so many people's lives. Like it can,
I saw people on Letterboxd call like this movie. It's not, how the like the Saw movies and those movies of that time were the torture porn movies. This is like life dismal porn movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forgot what the terminology they used were, but it's just like just watching people go through really rough, times is like a sub genre in and of itself, which I get it, because there was a point where all I did was watch depressing movies. A lot of the movies in my drama section in my collection are all dark, depressing movies. Not a lot of light in there for a lot of those, and feel like Inarritu is one of those directors who kind of makes those movies over and over again. There was that movie Beautiful from 2010 that is another one of his films I haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
maybe that'll happen.
Javier Bardem and
Javier Bardem. Because I remember when that movie came out, I think Javier Bardem was nominated for an Oscar for it.
Yeah,
and I had not even heard about it at the time.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's another movie, perhaps in a future unwatched pile. Now that I think about it. But anywho, Babel. I know, Steven, your film is rather different than this, but also a darker film.
It is. Before we get into my film, we got some comments here. We got Josephine, of course. Hello, Andrew and Steven. And Chris. Well, unfortunately, Chris isn't here at the moment, but hopefully he shows up. New Watches, recent, want to highlight Two Family House from 2000, Ruggle of Red Gap from 35, Colors of the Mountain from 2011, Flicker Lights of 2000. And you seen any of them?
No. Josie's always one of those. She always finds movies that I've never seen.
Yeah,
which is
she goes to the library a lot, right? To rent stuff.
Yes.
So there's always like a lot of things that get donated and things that you're like, what? Bronco Billy from 1980 and Lizzie, the Fox Fairy from 2015. So, and we got Acres of Movies. Hello, thanks from Stacy. Make Death Becomes Her. Make a
legacy sequel to Death Becomes Her. That's an interesting thing. I don't know if you could pull that off. I mean, I guess you could always make another movie about somebody getting cursed.
You could try to bring one. I think when you do a legacy sequel, you have to at least bring one character back, right?
Right.
Like maybe Goldie Hawn's character comes back, and then like we're like, where's what's the other actress that plays alongside?
Is it Meryl Streep in there as well?
It's Meryl Streep. That's it. It's like, where's Meryl Streep? Or maybe vice versa. You pick Meryl Streep and she comes back and we're like, where's the other one? It's like, I buried her in a box somewhere. So, whatever. Whatever. And of course, like Bruce Willis is dead. He's not.
What's interesting is I'm pretty sure that's a Robert Zemeckis movie. And Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say he's not interested in doing sequels, but of course he did the Back to the Future sequels. But he's not interested in doing reboots of his work and of any kind.
Nah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a little hot and cold on him. But yeah, I mean, I love that movie. I don't know that I would want that. I would want to leave that one alone. Let's leave that one alone. Recently finished reading from Josephine. Recently finished reading "I'm Waiting for You" and other stories by Kimbo Young. Really good collection of 4 interconnected sci-fi novels by the South Korean author. I know you read more than me. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, no, I don't read a lot of novellas or short stories, and I probably should because I always get stuck reading several hundred-page tomes. I'm actually about to finish Stephen King's It,
You
and
know,
that is a
that's
gigantic
hilarious.
tome.
It's funny because I'm going to start a journey of reading Stephen King.
Nice.
And I just I'm almost done with Carrie. So
Nice. Yeah, I did that. I started with Carrie.
well, I'm just going to do. We're probably doing the same thing, going in chronological order.
That was my plan. That was my plan, and I started bouncing around, but I'm trying to get back into some type of order. But yeah, Carrie is probably the best place to start for anybody who wants to start with Stephen King. Ironically, it's his first novel, so
yeah.
good place to start at the beginning.
Exactly. Favorite scenes in The Gauntlet. I don't think I know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Yeah. And just looking forward to Digger later in the year in October. Yes, I am. It's
getting that award season release slot.
Probably. I'm just as much, if not more, excited for Jesse Plemons in it than Tom Cruise.
Oscar snub for Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, for sure.
Begonia is really good. Currently streaming on Peacock, actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into my pick. So yeah, I picked this up later last year from Vinegar Syndrome, and this is from one of their newer labels, Brainstorm Media. And this is, I mean, I think I had seen Andrew's kind of review on this, and he really liked it. I talked to him about it before I bought it, and I did a little research, and that's what I do when I blind buy stuff. I just kind of look into it, see what people say about it, and then I'm like, I'll pull the trigger. And that's this film here called Limbo from 2023. It is a Australian noir, neo-noir. It takes place in this kind of middle of nowhere town called Limbo. And you have this detective who is going to investigate a cold case, something where a woman got abducted and went missing 20 years earlier. And he's coming into this town to try to see if he can dig up anything on it. And the lead character is played by Simon Baker. Simon Baker's an actor that if you saw him in this movie, you wouldn't know it was him because he looks nothing like himself. He looks like Breaking Bad. He looks like Walter White in this movie, like legit. But Simon Baker, he was the lead actor in the show The Mentalist. If anybody's ever seen The Mentalist, you'd see that. It's essentially, that show's essentially like Sherlock Holmes. He was also in like Devil Wears Prada as that handsome other news guy that was trying to lure Anne Hathaway away. So he's in stuff all around, but he's really disappears into this movie, and he plays, like I said, a detective. He's also kind of a drug addict, so he's got a little bit of darkness there. He's dealing with on his personal self while he's trying to go into this town and investigate. And while he's there, this town's very, most of the people that live there are more Aborigines. They're more locals. They're not white. They're dark skinned people. And so he has a lot of hard time trying to like get anybody to want to cooperate, anybody that wants to talk about what happened, to get any information. So it's the struggle there. But the movie is a very slow burn, very quiet, very meditative type of movie in a way. And when I say black and white, I mean literally black and white. This isn't one of them like there's gray. No, this movie is more white than black, to be honest with you, because you're in the open outback shots during the day, and it's just a lot of brightness, a lot of white. And then you go into these moments where there's this cave. You kind of get it in the back of this Blu-ray here. There's a shot here that comes from out of the cave. That's total black and white. So like it's a very legit black and white movie. But it's a solid movie. I wouldn't say I loved it. I think you liked it more than I did.
Hmm.
I think on one hand, I think like by the time the movie ends, you kind of like there it gives you a little bit of something that you were looking for, but like I feel like in the pursuit of it, like getting to where we got to, we didn't quite. I don't feel like we got enough. I feel like the movie maybe went a little bit too meditative and not enough action. I mean, I'm not saying I want an action movie. I'm just saying like nothing really happens. I mean, there's a lot of driving around, a lot of talking, driving around. He stumbles upon some things, and it's just and then when we get to the end, it doesn't really resolve itself. Really, he kind of figures something out, but then nothing is like it kind of just leaves it open at the end in a way. So it's kind of obviously I don't want to talk about details because it's a type of movie where you don't want to give away anything, but like I liked it, but also I don't know if I could go back and watch this movie anytime soon because I feel like it just kind of there's just not a lot drawing me back to it. I do like the performance. I do like it's filmed very well. It's very well really good cinematography. You know, but ultimately I don't think the story had enough detail to interest me maybe for a rewatch anytime soon. Tell me what you thought of Limbo.
Yeah, I watched it last year when it was announced, and I watched it to talk about on Chasing Labels, and I really liked it a lot. Like I said, it is this like kind of modern day neo noir, Australian neo noir, black and white, stark black and white, like acid wash
Yeah.
black and white,
Yeah.
and that very much reflects the tone of the movie. Like Steven is saying, it's a like slower movie. It's a mystery, but I feel like the mystery is not really what the movie's about.
No,
It's
no.
more so about this exploration of the exploitation or the historical exploitation of the indigenous peoples of Australia. I feel like that's a big thing in the movie
Yeah.
that they keep coming back to. And also, like Steven said, there's not really a lot going on. The movie
I,
reminded me a lot of a Jim Jarmusch film where there's
yeah.
not really a
Well,
lot going
I'll
on.
say this. I'll say this. Probably what I'm hoping from the movie is not exactly what the filmmaker was going for.
Mm,
Like I think the town's name plays into the themes.
yeah.
Limbo plays into the themes of what's going on. You got a lot of people that are kind of like stuck and they don't really have much going on in their life, kind of like the idea of what limbo is, you know, or like purgatory or like somewhere where you're just kind of like stuck there and there's no growing and there's no getting advancing in life. You're just kind of like stuck with your demons, stuck with your thing. So it all makes sense,
Yeah, if you
you know.
yeah. The movie what's interesting is the movie's titled Limbo, the place is Limbo, the people in this in Limbo are stuck in Limbo.
Yeah.
We that's very prevalent in there. Even the character that Simon Baker plays is kind of like stuck
He's
in
stuck
Limbo.
too. Yeah.
It almost feels like he's like that the place that he's in, like he can't escape. It's like a Hotel California feeling to it, where like
Sure.
because
In a
you
way.
could check
In a
out
way.
anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's isolated, it's in the middle of nowhere, it's in the desert, there's these isolated caves that are just, like, been there forever, probably been there for centuries. That plays into it, and yeah, I was kind of entranced by the movie and the feeling that that movie gave off, and it's kind of artsy, artistic, art house vibe that it gives. Also, like I said, Simon Baker's unrecognizable in the movie, which shocked me the most,
Yeah.
because he's a strikingly handsome individual, and
Sure.
this movie is not playing on that at all. He's just like in, like this detective in the outback, really, and yeah, I really like the movie a lot. But like I said, it had me hooked in it. But it's also a movie that you think like it's a murder mystery, so it's gonna be like
Yeah.
like The Big Sleep, or it's gonna be like one of those,
Sure.
Dashiell Hammett films, or it's gonna like a Raymond Chandler story. And it kind of is and kind of isn't. Um so yeah, like I said, there's not a lot going on in the movie. So if you're trying to like if you want a movie that does a lot of things, or has a lot of action beats in it. By action beats, I mean like actual things happening. Not really that type of movie. I
Yeah.
guess that's what I appreciate about it.
I think I can see why somebody would appreciate it, and that's why I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I think I appreciate the movie for what it is. I think it's a movie that in a way it's kind of like anti-mystery movie. Like it's
Yeah.
not a it's like it draws you in with the idea that there's gonna be a mystery. It also like plays out probably more like reality when it comes to trying to, figure out a mystery like this, especially when it's 20 years old, where there's just like almost like what evidence are you going to find 20 years later that you
Yeah.
couldn't have found?
Well,
But the idea is that the people in this town and the people that could have figured this out 20 years ago didn't really care enough to do so. So it's
right.
more about the culture and about how that culture has created an environment that is like the one they're in, where it's nobody cares to help these people. They kind of just been thrown into this limbo, in this
Yeah.
place.
They're kind of left behind, thrown aside, uncared for.
It's a place for them type of people. They run to this place because
Yeah.
it's a place to hide, and it's a place to and the people that are there, there's some bad people there too that do
Mm.
bad things that get away with it, and that's where they go to hide.
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole movie also gave me like a Twin Peaks vibe to it as well. Um, this just there's something just quite not right about this place,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can't quite figure out what it is. And yeah, a lot of interesting things in this movie from that perspective. But yeah, that's the movie Limbo from
It's an interesting
a
film.
small sub label.
Yeah,
Small
yeah,
sub
yeah.
label.
It is small. The releases got like, I think for a movie that's obviously as new as it is, you can't expect a lot in the sense of like, oh, we're gonna get a video essay, blah blah blah. But you get a lot of good stuff in here for what it is. You get interviews with like all the main players, like your director, your main actors. You get some behind the scenes footage. You get but in the booklet, you get a written essays by Alexandra Heller Nicholas. So there you go. That's makes this a worthwhile release all in itself. But we will flip back over to Andrew, and he's going to tell us what he paired with Babel.
Ah, yes. So, yeah. So I initially was like, oh, what am I going to pair with a movie? That's unique like this. But yet again, kind of how we were talking. There's a lot of movies that take this plot device and kind of work with it. There's one that's actually I may have inspired it, perhaps inspired it, perhaps not. But there's always these types of movie where there's this one item that makes its way through a bunch of different people within the story, and that's the plot of the movie.
I'm gonna write it down.
I'm
I'm gonna write it down, and if I'm right, I'll flip it up. Well, I'll flip it up, and if
okay.
I'm right.
Want me to wait until you're done writing?
Yes.
Yeah, let me wait until you're done writing before I
right.
reveal my thing.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm going with Winchester 73.
Damn it!
What'd you have?
Gun Crazy.
Oh, okay. Actually, I could have gone with Gun Crazy. I didn't think of that. I was just thinking of
That's a good one, though.
What's a movie where this item has this effect on a bunch of different people? And there's the movie Winchester 73. This is the Anthony Mann Western from 1950s, starring predominantly Jimmy Stewart. And it's about this gun, the Winchester, which is I forgot what I don't even know if it's on the back here, where it's like the gun that won the West. I think that's what it's called. I don't know if that's the slogan, but anywho, famous Winchester rifle that came out in 19th century Western United States. Much coveted, much used, all this kind of stuff. It's historic for that reason. But in this movie here, the Jimmy Stewart character wins this, I believe, in a competition. He wins the grand prize in this competition. The shooting competition, ironically, is this Winchester rifle, which is brand new at the time. He wins it. It gets stolen from him, and then that person loses it, and then they get rid of it somehow. You understand what I'm saying? It makes its way through all of these people. It does eventually get back to the Jimmy Stewart character, but it's one of those movies where this item goes through all of these people. I mean, another movie that ironically I talked about here on I almost said Chasing Labels. It's not, but the Unwatched pile is the movie War Horse, the Steven Spielberg movie War Horse, where like the horse goes through all of these people until it makes its way back to its original owner. Um, but like in this case, it's the Winchester. And ironically, in Babel, the gun that is used for this inciting incident, the one that where the Cape Blanchett character gets shot in, is also a Winchester rifle. It's a type of Winchester rifle. So that was like, as soon as I saw that in here, because they
Yeah.
mentioned it towards the end of the movie, I was like, oh, there's my pick. It's going to be Winchester. There's a direct connection right there. And you see how this rifle affects the people that it changes hands to throughout the movie. And it's kind of just fascinating how you can structure a movie around that idea, around this kind of MacGuffin of an idea, and you build this plot around it. And this is a great like noir western from 1950. Anthony Mann was really good at melding genres. The western genre. He also did some film noir before he delved into the western genre. He worked a lot with Jimmy Stewart in the 1950s and late 1940s. Um, the Naked Spur, Bend the River, The Man from Laramie. That's a couple of other ones, the movies that they worked on together. The Far Country, I think, is another one that has an Arrow Blu-ray release. But Winchester 73, I waited so many years for this to finally get a Blu-ray release, and it came out last year for the first time on Blu-ray and 4K. So that was a lovely surprise to me. And this is a movie that I've always really, really liked. And yeah, that's kind of how I connected to Babel. This idea that this one item can have this grand effect on so many people almost incidentally. Like it's an inanimate object. It's not real. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a purpose. Ironically, it's kind of, well, that's actually not true. I was going to compare it to the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, but there's a soul in there. There's no
Well,
soul in these objects.
yeah, there's a little bit something more there,
It's a
but
little bit
yeah,
something. There is a will. There is a magic quality to the One Ring in
I mean,
Lord of
you
the
could
Rings.
say like
Not so much here.
it's not that's obviously magical, but like in a sense, like the idea of what a gun is and what it can do has an effect on people,
Yeah, and its
especially
effect. Yeah.
especially
So
if they've used one before, so they know,
yeah,
like
it's
so
almost as
it's
if the One Ring is taking that idea literally.
sure,
Like, what
yeah,
would happen if this seemingly inconsequential object did have a will of its own, did have a purpose of its own,
yeah,
and was affecting people, as opposed to um, something like weaponry or guns. It's typically the people use it. The people have an effect on it by using it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's like the
It's
reverse.
the gun is just a gun but if it's in the wrong hands, then it can
It
be
can become problematic.
yeah,
I mean, and what's interesting in Babel, the inciting incident is something that is so childish and so immature and so like random that it's like you would think it would be innocuous. You would think it wouldn't have this grand effect, this grand ripple effect, but it does. And with Winchester 73, this you know, there's a whole backstory here of why why the Winchester is important, but also I think the Jimmy Stewart character and what's going on in his life is what kicks off this chain reaction of the Winchester changing hands so many times, and then of course people using it in various ways. People using it for battle, people using it to trade for things, people using it to get revenge, all this kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, it's like an instrument it's just kind of how you use it is is how it affects people. It's like
for
that's
sure.
that's good. Um, but yeah, so what is your pick, Steven?
All
Curious.
right. Yes. So, I think what I zeroed in on this, we kind of talked about before is this kind of the idea of the limbo, the society, the people that live in this town. It's kind of what I zeroed in on for this story. Now, the movie I picked, it does have a murder in it. It does have some of them elements, but it's definitely way more uh, of an action movie. I wouldn't say it's an action movie necessarily. It's definitely still a mystery. It's just definitely, modernizing it and not taking this meditative approach to the story. It's definitely got way more for people that thought Limbo was just a little too slow and a little too little too methodical. This will be like a way more more modern filmmaking approach. Not modern filmmaking, but like more you know, casual movie fan friendly movie. But I think I zeroed in on the idea of like people that are marginalized, people that are kind of in a community that one of theirs gets murdered, and there needs to be like justice for that, as kind of the theme I went for this. So I chose the 2017 film Wind River.
Mhm.
Directed and wrote by the very popular Taylor Sheridan, whichever one it is, Taylor Sheridan, who has went on to do many TV shows in this vein, really. He did also, what did he wrote, what's the one with Chris, what's his name in it? It's the other Western-y type of movie, but it's modern.
Why am I completely forgetting it?
Yeah, it's he wrote it. He didn't direct.
Hell or High Water.
Hell or High Water. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's a filmmaker that's very much about. He likes his movies that are kind of pro America, but also like he's very much like he likes to get into the nitty gritty of like, he's almost like a Michael Mann of like the wilderness, or like the like the ground level world. He likes to get very like into the weeds about like life as being like somebody that lives in the country, or somebody that lives in middle America, you know, kind of thing. Like he's all about that. And in this movie, we're in Wyoming, and this is on Indian reservation land, and you got Jeremy Renner, who's a wildlife. He's a wildlife guy. He basically deals with the wildlife that kind of attacks the farms, predators, things like that. He kind of helps fend off predator creatures that are hurting the farmers and stuff in the area. So, and I'm sure he's got other responsibilities, but primarily in the movie, you see him with a gun, and he's going around and he's looking to help fend off wolves and things like that kill cattle and stuff. And he comes across the dead body in the snow that ends up being one of the townspeople's daughter. And then they have to bring in the FBI, and we get Elizabeth Olsen, who comes in as the lone FBI agent to help solve this mystery of why this young lady kind of found her way out in the snow. I think they said like 5 miles out in the middle of in the snow out there. And, you know, anybody that lives there knows that that's a death warrant. So why would you be out there? So it becomes a murder investigation. And yeah, I mean, I felt like that these two movies connected on that level of like indigenous people that are kind of this town from the onset. This town is looked at as kind of like a place where nobody wants to be. You know, Jeremy Renner is picking up his son at the beginning, and he's talking with his ex, and like she doesn't even like going back to that town, like driving through it, let alone, you know, just, you know, like, so like it's a place where like, you know, and it's known in history of like, you know, a lot of Native American people have had, you know, obviously been regulated to these certain lands. A lot of times drugs get kind of filtered through these places and get people hooked. And that's part of this movie and Wind River. And like, you see some of that kind of just denigration of this culture in this movie. And then how, in this, it just like Limbo, white people have come in and they've, you know, kind of fucked things up, or they've done wrong here. So like, it's got a lot of similar qualities in that way that I thought would work well, along with like kind of upping the ante when it comes to like the murder mystery and the action. So you got one extreme to the other, I feel like, in a way. And I think that would be a nice pairing. You've seen Wind River, so.
I have. I saw it in the theater. Ironically, there's also a review for it here on the Chasing Labels YouTube channel from several years ago when it came out back in 2017 when I was doing movie reviews. And yeah, I was a big fan of Taylor Sheridan because I saw Hell or High Water, which I believe had come out before this, and he did not direct that film, but he was writing good screenplays. He wrote the screenplay for Sicario, the Denis Villeneuve film. I saw that in the theater. That was a hell of a ride. That was a hell of a ride in the theater. So I saw Hell or High Water, like I said. I also saw this movie, and like I said, there's a review up here for on the channel for it. And yeah, it's a really tense movie. It's a very serious movie dealing with once again a murder mystery that that is in an isolated place. Wyoming is a very isolated state, not a large population, a lot of open land, a lot of
Yeah.
like cold terrain and stuff like that. And I think the Jeremy Renner character he was like wasn't he like wildlife and game rain
Yeah, he's a
coordinator or something?
yeah, he like I said, he like deals with like
Like
uh,
nature and animals and things
yeah,
like that, and
keeping
tracking
things in, yeah, he
and
tracks things, yeah.
regulate and hunting regulations and all that kind of stuff. And it is centered around a murder of and they find the body of this indigenous woman out in the snow, the frigid cold. That's what I also remember about that movie. It looked frigidly cold.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like visually too, you know, as I said, Limbo is it's a black and white movie, and it's very white.
Mm,
So I thought
right.
about how that's black and white, and how Wind River is literally it's color, but it's like all white
Yeah,
because
because
of the snow.
they're in the snow.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're in the snow most of the time, like trying to figure this out. Elizabeth Olsen's in the film as well. You get her outside, like fish out of water perspective of, 'cause I believe she works for the FBI. I want to say,
yes,
and she comes in to assist on this investigation. She's completely kind of out of her depth when it comes
it,
to
yeah.
this geographical area and all this
And
kind of stuff.
similar, yeah, and similar to Sean, not Sean Baker,
Simon Baker.
Simon Baker's character in Limbo. They don't want to. She's like a fish out of water in a way. Like she doesn't understand the culture. She's kind of like trying to be sensitive, doesn't know how to approach it, and she gets Jeremy Renner to kind of help her on her investigation.
Right.
So
Yeah, and a big theme in this movie that they do point out, specifically at the end of the movie, is the historical aspect of violence against indigenous women and how it's oftentimes there's unsolved crimes against them and all kinds of stuff like that. And this movie definitely takes that perspective on. So it's a very serious movie dealing with a very serious thing. Also commenting, of course, on the treatment of indigenous peoples in general within American history. I think that's
yeah,
also throughout the movie as well. As Stephen alluded to, the forced migration to reservations and all this kind of stuff done in the 19th century. So that's definitely a theme in the movie. But just from an aesthetic and just tonal perspective, man, it's another one of those movies like I was talking about with Babel, like starkly a stark tone, like
yeah.
a serious, like no happiness whatsoever, nihilistic, cold, literally.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, watching that movie in the theater was an experience.
It had one of
It's yeah.
the thing that makes me always remember this movie though is the specific scene when we finally see how it went down.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want to
Well,
spoil
I don't
anything.
want to explain the scene, but it's like it's one of them things where it's like because we get it's this isn't a spoiler, but John Bernthal plays a character, and we know John Bernthal, he's the Punisher, and he's a very like kind of like he's a well put together guy, you know, he can take care of himself, and so he's involved in the scene with the young lady that ends up getting killed, and the scene plays out where he gets kind of like, you know, overran by 5 other guys. And so like it's one of them scenes where it's like it's so brutal because it's so you know how strong he is, but you know he's like there's no getting past this many people. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so kind of like helpless. There's a helplessness scene
And
when
you
you're like
and
when you know that even he can't do nothing about this, you know,
yeah.
like
What's interesting is by the time you reach that sequence of the movie, you already know how it's going to end. So it makes it
yeah.
so much more uncomfortable to
Yes.
watch
Yeah.
because of its outcome. And It's tough to watch. I feel like the whole movie's tough to watch, to be quite honest.
It has a lot of moments like that, but that particular moment always stands out to me because it starts out very tender, very nice, and then, like you said, you know where it's going, but how it happens, you're just like, oh my,
yeah, the anxiety.
It is very anxiety inducing, and then when it cuts to like kind of back to present day in the moment, and then it has another awesome scene. So yeah, it's, to me, it just it has the moments. I'm not saying I wanted Limbo to be this necessarily, but like this is the kind of similar type of movie that I like. I like something a little more mystery to it, a little bit more mechanics of like figuring it out. And it's going for that more than Limbo's kind of going for more of a, like you said, not really focusing on the mystery, but more about the machinations of like the place where it's happened, and like why in the larger scheme of things that this murder was never solved. So, but yeah, I think it's a nice little double ditty.
Nice.
So, all right. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we finish up this?
No, I mean, we've got some comments here, a lot of comments here.
I'm not sure how easy they're going to be able to follow because I'm not sure if they're all strung together.
Yeah, there's some fun things here.
You'll have to bring them up because
yeah. I'm saying I do have the power. I have the power.
You have the power as well as I do.
Coming out. There's a lot to talk about here. I don't know which one I want to go from. Oh, I'll say this. I do agree with this. Do you think Spider is Cronenberg's like least talked about movie? Yes. I don't think anybody knows that movie exists.
It's definitely his least talked about movie.
It's sandwiched in there. Well, not sandwiched in there. Well, actually, it is. It's between like Existence and then like History of Violence. Pretty sure it's in that corridor.
Yeah, it's in there. I think between this movie and something like, what's the one with Robert Pattinson? Oh, no, not the Robert Pattinson one. The other one, the one he did after the Robert Pattinson one. The one with
Maps to the Stars.
Yeah, Maps to the Stars. Nobody talks about that movie.
I'm the only one who like really likes that movie.
I kind of like the movie too.
Person.
That's what I'm saying. Like I like that movie too, but nobody talks about it. I mean, honestly, the Robert Pattinson one people don't talk about either. But
Cosmopolis is a trip.
It's at least so weird that people have kind of kept it up. Like it's still talked about a little bit, you know?
Yeah, Cosmopolis takes place almost entirely in the back of a limo. Yeah, and it's supposed to be about like the 2008 economic crash. Like it's a whole thing in there. It's a whole thing.
But no, Spider's it is a performance movie. I think that you go to that movie for Ray Fiennes. It is out there. I wouldn't say that one's for everybody, but it's really awesome performance in that movie.
Oh, this is kind of fun. What's the name? Oh, Rick Moranis as the Hulk. Would you want Rick Moranis as the Hulk?
It would have to be a comedy.
It's 1988 though, so think of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Rick Moranis. Not like
it would have to be a comedy though. It couldn't be. I couldn't take it seriously.
Kind of same here. Ironically, yeah. The thing is, before then they had the.
They could just do a Mel Brooks Hulk movie.
Yeah. Mel Brooks as the Hulk, or Mel Brooks directing the Hulk.
Yeah, he does the spoof movies. Just let him do a Hulk spoof. You know.
Now, Steven, this is a movie that you're not the biggest fan of. Would you want a water park ride for What About Bob or Dark City?
What About Bob? For sure.
Yeah, it's a water ride for What About Bob or Dark ride for Dark City.
What about
Dark City would make a great theme park ride.
Oh, I'm sure it would visually, yeah, for sure. But if I could just have a Bill Murray just standing at the end of a water slide saying, "Hi, I'm Bob," and just like asking you questions, like bothering you, like yeah, sure, yeah, I would.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bill Murray just standing there, and then one day, actual Bill Murray will be there because
I feel like Richard Dreyfuss would just be, I don't know, pouring water on you. I don't know how that would work.
He'd be yelling at you, just like "Get out of here!" Get out! You know, like yeah. But yeah, for sure, Bob.
Nice. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of. Oh, yeah. So I do want to talk more about John Sayles movies at some point. So this is definitely. I didn't know John Sayles did a movie called Limbo.
Yeah. Well.
Yes, with David Strathairn, who's one of the greatest character actors of our time. I heard I heard him the other day. Oh, you know why? Because I think he did a voice in Zootopia too. I
Mm,
think that was his voice. But yeah, definitely
okay.
more John Sayles. Yeah, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, Steven. Steven and
No,
I did not meet at film school, although that would have been a great origin story. I'll tell
that
you
would be
that.
a story. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I guess I saw that comment, but I was like, is that for us or was that part of another line of something else? Yeah.
no, I think it's for us.
Uh, we didn't go to film school.
No,
No,
the most
no.
I did was take some film courses in college, which
I took one.
doesn't count.
I
Yeah,
took one kind of analysis of film class once. I only went to 1 year of college. Otherwise, my knowledge of film is just from watching and talking and just being curious. And a lot of that denigrates over the years because my mind I get so consumed with normal life. But I know this man over here is a similar way. He
yeah. What's interesting is I recently, with all the One Battle After Another critical acclaim and all that kind of stuff, you see a lot of older interviews with Paul Thomas Anderson, and he went to film school for like a couple of days, and then he completely
yeah
left. I think he told Charlie Rose on a Charlie Rose interview, like they told him that if you want to like make the next Terminator 2, then you should leave now. So he
yeah
left. And it's like yeah, I don't need that negativity. And like because I want to make the next Terminator 2. So
yeah
he famously is amongst many filmmakers who never went to formal film school. Him, Quentin Tarantino, all that kind of stuff. Famously, a lot of them just did not. They kind of just learned by watching movies. I think I told this on Chasing Labels recently. A lot of my film education was from watching movies and then
yeah
watching the special features on DVDs and Blu-rays. You may think they're ancillary nonsense or whatever, but you learn a lot about film history from a lot of older movie special features. You see a lot of the same people show up over and over again, and they talk about similar time periods in movies. Movie commentaries where you listen to how the directors made the movies or the making of documentaries. Those things are very important. They're not just
yeah
there as like window dressing. They're kind of important.
no for
But
sure.
yeah, also Insomnia. Both versions of Insomnia would have paired well with
I
Limbo, I
I
think.
actually thought of that one too,
Mm,
but like I think I just it didn't have much of that culture stuff in there, like
no,
the people that lived in Alaska in that movie. Like we're not really like they just seem like normal people. There's not much like indigenous people. There's not like a
there's not a cultural aspect to that movie.
yeah. It's maybe the original has more of a
It's
culture
been so
aspect.
many years since I've seen it.
Me too. Yeah.
Ironically, as I saw Stellan Skarsgård in the Criterion Closet the other day, and I thought he was going to pick up Insomnia, but he didn't.
Yeah. Really.
So it's like
You'd
I would
think.
that would be the first thing I would do is if I were in the Criterion Closet and I had a movie in the Criterion
Yeah.
Collection, I'd pick it up just to boast about it.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I would do. Um,
But yeah,
but yeah,
it didn't have that aspect, and that's what I focused on. So I didn't. That's why I didn't choose that one over.
yeah, we talked
But
about
yeah,
Spider being Cronenberg's most like under talked about movie. I think Insomnia
yeah,
maybe Christopher Nolan's most untalked about movie, other than like his first movie, Following, which
yeah.
makes kind of sense because it's more of like a student film. But Insomnia doesn't get talked about a bunch. Um,
I
it,
think it's because it's like the most studio thing he's done.
mm, well, I mean, he did
But
Batman.
well, yeah, but them movies are his. Like he wrote, he's part of the writing of them movies. Like I believe Insomnia was written by somebody else.
It was a
And
remake.
yeah, and it's a remake of something like it's so it doesn't feel as much like a Nolan movie as his other movies going forward do. I think in the sense of storytelling. I think when I've heard interviews about that movie, he talks about how the biggest thing that he gained from it was just working with bigger actors.
Yeah,
Getting to
I mean,
work with
Al
Robin
Pacino,
Williams and Al Pacino, like that was
Hilary
like
Swank.
a big thing for his growth
He had
as a director. So
3 Oscar winners in that movie. Now that I think about it, yeah,
exactly. So,
interesting.
but yeah, I like the movie. It just didn't quite go where I wanted to go as a pairing. But all right.
All right.
Well, that is it. Unfortunately, like I said, Chris Haskell could not make it. Maybe we'll get him on a later episode. But thanks everybody for joining us for this Unwatched pile. Of course, it'll have an audio edition if you want to listen later. And of course, watch out for all the other stuff on Chasing Labels. We got, of course, Chasing Labels flagship show with Andrew Cabral here going over releases, I think next week.
Yeah, it'll probably be, now that I think about it, maybe next Tuesday once again, just because the first lies on, I think, a Sunday, and we'll get all the Vinegar Syndrome and partner label stuff. So I need an extra day to get into
Yeah.
all that. Damn you, calendar and time.
Damn.
For screwing me over once again.
Also, we just put another installment of Movie Mutations up, episode 3, where we mutate 1997 film Batman and Robin. We got our friends Doug McCambridge and Carl Champion Jr. going against each other in that one. So you can find that on Chasing Labels or the Movie Mutations YouTube channel. Also, of course, we are taking a break from Movies Down Memory Lane. So check that out, probably coming back later in February.
Our most recent episode of that is when we discussed Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas.
Yep.
So a movie most people know of.
Yes. If you haven't, it would be weird. But it's always exciting when somebody hasn't seen a movie like that. So you get to see it through their eyes. But yeah, that's basically it. Just keep subscription to the main channel here and the audio channel, and we'll probably have some Criterion reviews coming up soon. So look out for that. And what are you guys still doing here? I mean, like, go watch movies that you haven't seen. Like, that's like, yeah. Bye.